Today we are going to choose which static grass and which trees to use along Echo Creek on my N-scale layout. Stay tuned, that's coming right up. Hi, I'm Roy Smith. I received a WWS static grass applicator in the mail 3 weeks ago. You may have seen me unbox it. Today we are going to try it out and we are going to select which static grass to apply along Echo Creek on my layout. Then we're going to take a look at the trees I have and decide which ones to plant along the creek. We model railroaders have to make big decisions in the hobby every day. And we have to learn all kinds of new things as we build our layouts. That certainly has been the case for me in choosing and using static grass and trees. Now remember, my goal is to create something that resembles this along Echo Creek. So I need to choose carefully when selecting static grass and trees for this scene on my layout. You will recall that I did some terrain forming along the floor of Echo Canyon in last week's episode. So the first thing I want to do today is show you that I repainted the area along the creek after doing that terrain forming. I am now applying a very thin wash of white paint to the entire area in order to blend the colors together and to tone down the colors that seem to be too intense. Having done that, we can now take a look at static grass. Here's everything that came in the WWS static grass applicator kit I bought. First, the applicator itself, powered by a 9-volt battery in the handle. Followed by basing glue, which you apply before putting down the first layer of static grass. Layering spray, which you apply before each subsequent application of grass. And a small assortment of sizes and colors of static grass, including 2mm summer grass. Normally you would put this short grass down first, followed by layers of taller grass. 4mm patchy grass, 4mm dead grass, 4mm autumn grass, and finally 6mm meadow grass, which is the tallest grass that will appear on my layout. Since this was the first time I have used static grass, I began by testing the grass that came in the kit on a sheet of styrofoam. You can see that I applied various combinations of sizes and colors on these test patches. I was shocked by just how dark all of the colors turned out to be in these tests. The greens were too dark and so were the browns, especially for my layout set in an arid and semi-arid climate where pastel colors seem to look better. In all fairness though, I did begin these tests by first applying a dark green color of paint, and that may have made the static grass look even darker. Now over on the layout I also did some tests. In the first test I put down some Woodland Scenics green grass turf before applying the 2mm summer static grass. The 2mm grass is often referred to as a basing grass because you normally apply it first as a base for the taller grasses that you subsequently apply. Not surprisingly, this test also turned out to be very dark green, although such a dark green color might be okay along the creek. Then to continue my testing, I moved over to the other side of the creek. Here I put down a layer of Scenic Express light green turf. I followed that again with an application of the same 2mm summer static grass. In this test, the grass turned out to be too bright, almost chartreuse. Finally over here in the third and final test, I applied the 6mm meadow grass without first applying the 2mm grass as a base. I like the results of this test partly because the color turned out to be lighter and partly because you can see the 6mm grass standing up clearly. Even so, the color was still darker than I wanted to use at Echo Canyon, and since I didn't put down the 2mm basing grass first, you can see some of the basing glue. So what colors do I really want to use on my layout? Well, let me show you the colors I like by looking at two photos of the prototype. In this first photo, you can see grass that is very light green, almost silver in color. But such a color of static grass may not exist. I had the same problem when I was trying to find this color of sagebrush to plant on the other side of my layout. And this second photo shows you that the grass in Echo Canyon has turned yellow. It has been a long, dry summer with very little rain, and the grass has turned yellow as a result. You can see how yellow the grass has turned in the video filmed by Roy Hardwick, also known as Containerman 68. I showed you a portion of his video in last week's episode. I like this yellow color of grass very much. You can paint the static grass with an airbrush. Kathy Millett shows you how to do this in one of her videos.
Hi, my name's Kathy Millett, and this week we're looking at how to airbrush grass when the colours just look wrong. I hate airbrushing. I really hate airbrushing. I clog it all the time. I'm not good. Anyway, when I tell you you need to airbrush this, it's the easiest way. You could dry brush it. It won't take you forever to do a large layout, but it'll work. But really an airbrush is so much easier.
I'll put a link to Kathy's video down below in the description to this video. But like Kathy, I hate to do airbrushing with all of that preparation and cleanup afterward. So before I try to airbrush my static grass, I have decided to order more colors of grass, especially these colors. Remember, the 2mm grass is normally used as a base for the taller grasses, which you apply in layers. We will see how these colors look on my layout after they arrive in the mail. Now let's take a look at the 6 kinds of trees I have and can use along Echo Creek. I have had most of these trees for some time. All of them are deciduous trees because evergreen trees would not be appropriate along the banks of the creek. All of them are JTT trees. I haven't used them until now because there aren't a lot of trees in the arid and semi-arid region that I am modeling. First, these so-called woods edge trees. I think these might best be used in the background. They're okay, but they do need to be improved in height and color before I can put them on my layout. Next, these Z-scale trees. They're tiny. Originally, I bought them to put them in the background of scenes for forced perspective. I suppose they could be used at the edge of the grove of trees along Echo Creek, suggesting that they are younger trees. Now, these 1-inch acacias. These are one of my favorites. At 1 inch tall, their height is perfect and I love their open-branched, see-through character. They remind me of the cottonwoods I have seen in the American West and Southwest. These beech trees are 1.5 inches tall. They look a lot like the acacias I just showed you, only a little bigger. I like them for the same reasons that I like the acacias. That is, their open form, which allows you to see the branches inside the trees and to see through the trees. As I understand it, 1.5 inches converts to a tree that is 20 scale feet tall, and that's plenty tall enough for trees in the area I am modeling. And the last of the pre-assembled trees are these 1.5 inch tall deciduous trees, not further identified by type. They're quite nice, but again, I prefer open-branched, see-through trees. Finally, this kit of deciduous trees. Altogether, this box contained 16 armatures for assembling trees. There are 3 sizes of armatures, small, medium, and large, ranging from 1.5 inches to 3 inches tall. The medium and large sizes are too large for the semi-arid region I am modeling, but I can easily cut them down in size by nipping off the longer branches. The box also contains 3 packs of polyfiber in 3 shades of green. And in a moment, I will show you how I put it on the armatures. Here you can see two of the trees from the kit which I have already assembled and placed along the creek. Quite frankly, I'm surprised by how much I like them, especially their light, airy appearance. Trees which you buy in a kit like this and which you assemble yourself cost a lot less than the ones you buy already assembled. I guess that's no surprise. And they're not too hard to assemble. In fact, let me show you two ways to put foliage on the armatures. Here's the first way, using the poly fiber that comes in the kit. Unfortunately, I don't yet have any hobby tack glue, but I've ordered some because I understand it's the best way to glue foliage to tree armatures. In the meantime, I'm going to experiment with this Woodland Scenics Accents glue, which is also very tacky and which is normally used to glue figures of people down on the layout. I also have this spray adhesive, but I will be using that in the second method for applying foliage to the armatures. I begin by dabbing some of the accents glue on the branches of the tree. Then I wait for 3 minutes or so for the glue to begin to set up. Meanwhile, I begin to tease apart pieces of the polyfiber, which I will then stretch over the branches of the tree. Unfortunately, I am knocking a lot of the leaf foliage off of the polyfiber as I do this. Well, there you have it. I like the way it looks. Now the second way. I think this second way is the more common method for applying foliage to armatures. For this method, I will apply clump foliage instead of polyfiber to the armature. Clump foliage comes in many shades and colors. I just happen to have this sage green color, which is slightly bluish. Having already dabbed on the glue, I stick the armature of the tree in the clump foliage and roll it around a bit so that the foliage sticks to the armature. I apply some spray adhesive and put the armature in the clump foliage a second time. Now, as you can see, the foliage is very dense rather than see-through when using this method. I try to knock some of the excess clump foliage off of it, but as I try to do this, the tree begins to look worse and worse. Obviously, I will have to do more work on it. Here's a later photo of the same tree. It's beginning to look a little better, but it's still not ready for prime time. I have some leaf foliage that I might try to apply to it, and I could lighten up the top of the tree with a bit of yellow wash so that it looks as if sunlight is hitting the top of it. But the glue is water soluble and it should be very dry before I try to apply any washes. Unfortunately, the accents glue seems to remain tacky forever and never dries completely. Here's the beginning of that grove of trees along Echo Creek. I'm going to plant more trees along the creek, but I really should put down the static grass first. Hopefully, the light green and yellow static grass that I ordered will arrive quickly. Well, there you have it. I have selected the colors of static grass that I want to use and have ordered light green and yellow colors. And I have selected the trees that I want to use. While I'm waiting for the static grass to arrive, I will continue to work on preparing the trees for use on the layout. I'm really getting anxious to plant the grass and trees, so I hope the grass arrives quickly. As always, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel, share your comments down below, and click on the like button. I'd love to know your experience in planting static grass and trees on your layout. To conclude, I'd like to thank you for watching. Until next time, happy railroading. I will see you again very soon.